Welcome. Welcome to the Bounce Back Empowerment Conference. Now say this with me. Bounce back. Yes, I can. Unstoppable. Unstoppable, free and fearless. Unshakable.
Bounce back, bounce back. Unbreakable, unshakable, nothing stops you in your track. Bounce back, bounce back. Uplifted, inspired, feel your positive unpack.
Never, ever. Never giving up. Encouraged, uplifted, inspired, empowered, motivated.
Bounce back, bounce back. Unbreakable, unshakable, nothing stops you in your track. Bounce back, bounce back. Uplifted, inspired, feel your positive unpack.
Yes, yes, yes I can. Yes I will. Yes I believe. Yes, yes, yes. Heart, be still.
Bounce back, bounce back. Unbreakable, unshakable, nothing stops you in your track. Bounce back, bounce back. Uplifted, inspired, feel your positive unpack.
Bounce back. Bounce back. Bounce back. Bounce back.
We are turning it over to the amazing, amazing Danika. So let me tell you a little something about Danika. Yes, and I'm so glad she could join us. I know she's been a little unwell these days, so let's send her some love. Let's send her some positive energies. I'm just so happy that she's here and she's made it because she didn't have to be. So thank you, Danika. So Danika, oh my gosh, Danika's been teaching fitness for over 25 years and she's felt passionate about helping others improving their core strength, their muscle balance, flexibility, and just overall cardiovascular muscular strength with a functional fitness. She teaches Pilates, yoga, cycle, and works with individuals and groups in all populations and fitness levels. She also specializes in working with clients pre and post surgery, pre and postnatal, back injuries, post injury, muscle imbalances, scoliosis. So these are all things that so many people that we know and love may be facing or we may be facing ourselves. She believes it's never too late to start over. And the more we understand about our own body and mind, the better we feel. So without further ado, I want to present the beautiful and amazing Danika.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So I am really bad at time, so I'm going to start my timer to make sure I don't go over. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name's Danika. I am in Mountain Standard Time. I'm in Arizona, so thank you for having me. And I know we have very limited time, so I did a lot of thinking and I did not prepare anything to stare at on the computer. I feel like we do that already way too much. So I'm going to have us just get into our bodies while I talk, which is what I do for a living anyways. And today I thought about teaching what your body is doing in a chair and how you can prevent all of the muscle imbalances and back problems that happen sitting in a chair all day. And so Sabrina, I did send you a photo. I mean, if you're able to throw it on the page, great, because I'm a kinesthetic learner. I need to actually feel it to learn. So if you're a visual learner, here you go for you visual learners. But we're going to talk about core today, and we're going to talk about mindfulness while you're sitting in your chair or when you're not sitting in your chair. so that you can start to be very aware. We're really good at being aware when we're actually doing the exercise like we just did with our yoga. But as soon as we're done, we're like, okay, back to work, and everything turns off. And I want to get you to be doing it all of the time, so that it becomes second nature. So when I'm teaching Pilates, I go over the really important elements of what core really is. And so everyone thinks core is your six pack, and it is not. Your six pack is really pretty, but it really doesn't have a whole lot of, kinesthetic and importance for sustainable core and sustainable fitness, in the sense of functional fitness, which is being able to move for the rest of your life in a way that's safe and prevents injury. And so, first of all, before I get into core, while we're sitting here, I want you to notice your sits bones. Those are the bony parts of your butt. And I want you to just start to notice them while I'm talking to you. So I'm going to have you start to dive into your body while I piece this apart. Okay. So notice your sits bones, and between your two sits bones, which are, if you look at the skeleton, it's those bony points at the very bottom of his pelvis. You can see them. They're like little triangles, okay? And between them is your tailbone. Thank you for being my assistant. Is your tailbone, and that hangs between your sits bones. So just notice that right now, okay? So while I'm going over the core from bottom up, I'm going to have you feel it. Now, your your pelvis tends to do one or two things. You either tuck it, which is posterior tilt, or you lift it, which is you stick your butt out, which is anterior tilt. So we usually do one. I'm an anterior tilter. So you need to be aware which one you're doing maybe right now, and kind of rock your pelvis forward and back, okay? Your hips, okay? And just maybe circle them. I changed my chair to a ball, but just notice that. Now, before I move up the core, I'm going to go over the spine movements. Your spine moves in 4 ways. So if you want to do this with me, you can. It goes forward into flexion. It goes open into extension. It goes side to side, which is lateral, and then it rotates, okay? And if you could guess, you can put this in the chat box. What is the strongest human movement right now that we have for our spine movement? Which one do you think is the strongest? That humans are, we got this. You can guess that while I go on. So moving up from the pelvis, we're going to go into the spine, which we just did, okay? And we're also going to talk about the transverse abdominis, which you can't see on there. It's a muscle, and it's like your corset. So if you want to put your hands around your waist, that is the part that is fired, we call it, right? Or it's engaged when we are using our core correctly. And it is what protects our back, okay? I'm looking at your chats. So that is what you really want to have fire, and brings in the corset, like brings in everything around that midline to really fire. And this is not about being skinny. This is not about having muscles. And I need people to understand that this is not about being perfect or looking perfect. This is about firing the right muscles and using your body in a way that will help your spine move in all 4 directions, and engage the right muscles and protect your back, and allow you to have all of this movement for the rest of your life, okay? Now, the other part of the core that is really important that we don't talk enough about in fitness is your rib cage. Your rib cage has so much more importance than we give it credit for. And I want you to put your hands all the way around your rib cage, especially your bottom rib. That's the one that for some reason we don't connect to the most. And I have my philosophy on that, but we won't go into that. So go into the bottom rib and the very, very back, the very bottom rib. And when you're breathing, I want you to start thinking, I'm going to inhale all the way to my back bottom rib. So you can go ahead and try that right now. Just inhale. And if you can feel that bottom rib start to expand, you're inhaling correctly. So that's a good thing to practice even when you're sitting in your chair, to get into that bottom rib when you're inhaling. And then when you're exhaling, it's deflating, okay? It's contracting. Also, when you're sitting in your chair, the thing that the rib cage is really, it's very important in is rotation. So our yoga instructor just had us rotate, right? And a lot of people rotate without thinking of their rib cage. They just kind of rotate. Sometimes their shoulders elevate. We're going to go into that next. So basically, when you're rotating, you want to take that bottom rib and you want to push it down and around. So if you rotate and you think of that bottom, you can try it, push that bottom rib cage down and around, you'll feel a little bit more contraction in the transverse abdominis, which is that corset we just talked about. Now, earlier I asked which of the 4 spine directions do you think are the most prevalent in our society? And it's flexion. We're all so forward flex. Most of my clients come in with low lumbar issues, forward flexion, their shoulders are forward, their neck is forward. So one of the things that I work on is getting them that rotation really strong again. It actually prevents low back issues. And also their shoulders are highly elevated, and that's the next part of the core that we're going to go into. And so your shoulders, which are also the wings on the back of the skeleton, that's your scapula. And so when you're sitting in your chair or you're driving your car, or you're at home, it's having this awareness of where are my sits bones? Okay, I press those down, I relax my tailbone. I want to really feel my rib cage come up away from my hips. I want to push my pelvis down and have it nice and stable and not sticking my butt out or tucking my butt. And then your shoulders, which I call the wings. These are my favorite to talk about because our wings are so out of whack in our society. And it's the biggest problem for neck problems. It's the biggest issue for not using your core. It's the biggest issue for what we call protraction, which is shoulders rolling forward, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just continues down the path. Now your shoulder blades, now if you can, I want you to either close your eyes or just mindfully feel them on your back. Now, the first thing I want you to do is squeeze your shoulder blades together, which in turn will make you stick your chest out. And I will tell you, and I'm going to be very real here, I have a lot of women who are uncomfortable doing that at first because we've been told that, we have to be ashamed of this area. Wrong. So you have to stick your chest out to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Okay, and then pull your shoulder blades apart, all right, which is protraction, which is what we are, right? This is what we are, we're rolled forward, and then squeeze them back together. This is something that you should be doing all day long at sitting at a desk, is you should be mindfully really understanding that your shoulder blades need to come back and squeeze them together. Now lift them up and then put them down, and then lift them up and put them down. This is elevate and depress, okay? Depression. So one of the things we do when we're stressed is what we do this, right? We lift, 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 lift. The minute your shoulder blades are lifted, you cannot use your core. So if you're doing, let's say you're doing a workout or you're rotating or you're doing any kind of workout, if I'm like doing sit-ups and my shoulders are in my ears, guess what? You are not using core. So you have to bring your shoulders down, down, down. So when you're sitting in your chair, the things you can think about when you can rotate during the day is as I rotate, I push my shoulders down, I bring my lowest rib cage down and around. And if you do that and feel that, you will feel that transverse abdominis automatically contract. I can't see you guys. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the picture. So let's all try really quick. And then I'm going to go over the neck, which is the cervical spine, and I'll go over that last. Oh, thank you. Okay, so let's all try really quick all 4 directions of the spine using our core and see if we have any questions from there. So sitting nice and straight on your sits bones and really being mindful of your pelvis being neutral, which is not, again, sticking out or tucking. And then this is not about sucking your stomach in. I can't tell you how many people think firing your core is pulling in your stomach. It is not. And I will go over later when we go over extension of the spine, why and how I can prove that that doesn't work. And then think about your rib cage as you're sitting here. I want you to knit your rib cage down to your hips. I want you to take your wings, your shoulder blades, and pull them back towards your spine and then down, okay? And then your cervical spine, your neck. Most of us do this a lot, so we want to try and pull our chin slightly down. And I always say like you have an oversized orange right here, okay? So not too much down, but if you're a lifter like me, you need to kind of pretend like you're holding something under your chin. And then what you want to do is, let's try a rotation. Actually, let's try the very easiest part first, which is flexion. So coming down, as you come down, so we're going to flex forward as if we're maybe tying our shoes. And you want to come down and you want to draw your shoulders down. Remember the scapula, lower your wings. Take that rib cage down in front, push it down, okay? And keep your pelvis stable. Don't tuck or lift it. So you might feel a little difference, might take practice. And then rotation, again, find the sits bones, rotate to one side. Don't let the shoulders lift, push them down and back. Take your lowest rib cage, push it down and pull it around. And then make sure your chin and your cervical spine are in line, okay? It might take practice. Taking that rib cage around your body is very different than just swinging your body around. Do you feel the difference, anybody? It takes practice. Laterally, again, we did this in yoga where you go side to side, okay? Again, lateral movements. So everyone take their left arm up. I was watching you, not because I'm judging you, but because it's my job. Half of you had your shoulder like this and you did this, okay? So I have to literally take my client's shoulder and push it down, and half of them can't take their shoulder down with the straight arm. So we bend our arm and then we laterally move from there and we take the rib cage and we pull it up and over away from the hips. Do you see the difference? You don't have to answer me, it's okay. So when our shoulder is up in our ear and we go like this, we are no longer able to fire the core. So we want to bring the shoulder out of the ear, keep the shoulder out of the ear, and notice how I'm moving and the shoulder never lifts, okay? Just mindfulness, it's not going to happen overnight, okay? The most important part, oh, and I'm almost done. The most important part of training is extension. So when a surfer is laying on a surfboard, surfers have beautiful backs, by the way, if you haven't noticed, they're in extension the whole time. So if you lay on your stomach, which is prone, and you are lifting, right, that is extension of the spine. If I'm sitting here and I lift my heart, I'm extending my spine. Those are the weakest muscles for humans. Those are your erector spinae. So what I encourage everyone to do through the day when they're in their chairs, or like our yogi just showed us when we stood up and we interlaced our fingers behind us and we did kind of that back bend. I cannot stress enough how many times a day, if you're in your chair or you're driving, well, probably not while you're driving, you might crash, but to lift the heart, and remember to not lift the scapula, and lift the heart and do a slight back bend. take your hands behind you like our yogi did and squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift your heart, because those are the muscles that will help you get out of bed until you're 90. So I really encourage you to strengthen extension of the spine. You can Google exercises. I didn't give you a lot of stuff to look at because we have so much information on the internet. I just want you to be mindful when you're sitting in your chair and you're not in your chair, that all these movements are, trust me, as you get older and you want to keep a strong core and a strong spine, that is what will help you be sustainable. So thank you.